The specialist film Blake. Oh my God, I almost said Phil and
Start it
Will.
over, please, God.
Can't start it over. We're live. The
Oh
specialist
God.
Phil and Blake are back, and today we are recapping Surviving Barstool Season 5, presented by Rumble, episode number 5. I feel like I have to say presented by Rumble every time because Jeff D. Lowe says it every time. I feel like if I don't say it, I'm not saying the full name. But here we are. It's Phil and it's Blake. I promise you all, it's Blake. Will is not here. If you got really excited, you're going to get some behind the scenes here. You're not. Shane Michael Cup, you should not be allowed to get the medic involved. He's not a player. I'm holding Will responsible for this. What the hell, Will? Blake, I mean, this is the whole episode. I mean, Dante ends up getting voted out. Dante was watching the NBA playoffs while the rest of his tribe was scheming and trying to come up with different things to do. It was pretty great. I'm not gonna lie. I enjoyed that a lot. But we have a very obvious boot. I think the most obvious thus far on the show. It never felt like Roan was truly ever in danger. We know that Brandon is really close with Roan. So the story of this episode is the Faker mission, which Marty Mush takes on for Glenny because Glenny can't fake it. He doesn't think he can pull it off. And Marty's whole mission is to fake an injury for 10 minutes. And if he fakes it for 10 minutes and gets the challenge stopped for 10 minutes, he gets an idol. What do you think about this mission, Blake?
I think this reminds me of one of my favorite television shows. It is my favorite reality show of all time. It's called The Genius. And I don't know how much you've watched of it because it's all in South Korean and the subtitles are something where if you're not can speed read, it's pretty hard watch for some people. But this was something that I think you can do on New Survivor of like this was all a ruse and rewind. That's what they do editing style on the Genius. That's why I'm bringing it up. Like we're gonna present you this facts, and then we're going to be like, actually, 47 minutes ago, this person, and this person all got in a room, and we're like, we're actually gonna lie the whole time, and then back forward. Now that you have that context, here we are. I don't know if there's some parallel thinking. I'm not saying it's a ripoff. I'm saying this is an homage. At worst, at best, this is a full on like let's try to innovate a little bit of how we can tell a story. And I thought it was very cool. Of we're going to present it like he broke his ankle first. Did you believe it? And you have no reason not to. And maybe there are some people that are smarter than the average bear. Everybody in our comments is always like, how'd you guys fall into this trap? It's like, was there anybody that saw the preview, saw Marty Mush fall in the preview and go, well, that's probably a mission?
Well, and
I
I
think,
also I think
yeah,
the problem with that is most people aren't talking about the show enough, right? So I think that's why Surviving Barstool is able to get away with this. I see him get injured. I say, yeah, he fell off a balance beam and hurt himself. Like you said in last week's episode, they're not falling into real water. That's why this challenge is supposed to be done over water. And so, like, you fell for it, I fell for it, but I also feel like there's no reason not to fall for it. So, like, anybody who thinks they're smarter than, it's like, okay, good for you. You can leave comments and say you're smarter than. I don't care. That's fine. But yeah, I agree with you. There was no reason not to believe it. But then when he was down, I was like, is Marty Mush actually? It did cross my mind after he was laying on his back, kind of doing the thing. He was reaching so high up on his ankle that I was like, okay, is he hurt? Because I just watched Dana Beers fall on him, and Dana Beers definitely landed like closer to the chest, closer to the arm. Where was the ankle roll? And then when you see that once or twice, I'm like, this doesn't. And then we get Marty Mush saying, hey, it's all bullshit. I'm not
right.
actually injured at all. I liked it. I mean, I thought it was a fun idea. I kind of agree with Shane Michael Cup here. I don't know if the medic should have been like so involved. The other thing I will say though is I know that the Genius is one of Will's favorite shows of all time. So if there is inspiration to be drawn from the Genius, he is drawing it most likely from the Genius because it's one of his favorite shows, no doubt.
I think another thing that you're talking about that is like, well, how did they not? The art of misdirection. Everybody's looking at the slingshot right now. Who's the furthest person away from the slingshot? It's Marty. None of the people that aren't involved in the plan are looking at Marty as he falls. So it's at best you're going to look back in 1.8 seconds, and it's going to be too late. You're not going to know who fell, how, and what happened to whose leg. You're just going to believe what you can see. And I do think when Marty Mush does the whole like give me an Oscar and you're like, okay, I've heard these things, but it does kind of make sense here. If this is a full on, it's only believable if Marty does all this extra stuff. And it's only believable if this is something where it's like, would you walk around differently for 5 days if it meant you had an idol? And this feels like something where we've seen Tony do this kind of stuff of like, I'm gonna
Tyson did it.
contort my body a certain way where people always talk to me from a higher position, so I don't seem like. Is he going to always be in the wheelchair, or whenever it does get to individual immunity, is it going to be like, well, we don't have to worry about Marty, let's drag him, and then it's like, cool, this is affecting the game in 5 different layers now because I'm too far in to go like, oh yeah, my ankle feels better after 36 hours.
Well, and that's the thing. Like Tyson did this where he faked the shoulder injury. It was kind of hurt, and he made it seem like it was a bigger deal. It's also very ironic right now for our Patreon. We're doing Heroes, Healers, Hustlers, and just last night I watched the episode where Ben plays double agent for 2 hours. Truly one of the best episodes of Survivor. That one always gets slept on. I forgot how good it was. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But you do see this kind of like this element in regular Survivor, even when it's not a mission like this for something specific. Like this one is obviously for an immunity idol. Ben is just doing it because it's what's ultimately best for his game and for Devin's game and for Lauren's game, which is a totally different story. But, it's fun to see a creative sense like this. Obviously, US Survivor can never go out of their way and do this. US Survivor can never sit down and say, hey guys, you're going to get the medic involved and we're going to have you fake an injury for 10 minutes. There's no way you can pull that off, because then you start getting into like, more issues, in my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but just based around like all the standards and practices and stuff like that. Because what happens if in that same challenge, somebody fakes an injury, somebody actually gets injured? I always think about the challenge where Caleb goes down and it's like the moment where Jeff actually thought somebody was going to die. That challenge was never meant to be something that was going to wipe people out, but the heat was so bad that day that it did. That could have easily been a challenge of, hey, fake an injury. And now all of a sudden you have Debbie down, you have Sydney down, and you have Caleb down. Well, these are actually real injuries. So I feel like with the real medical team and everything out there, you can't pull this off. But I thought it was really, really fun the way that they were able to pull it off here in this episode.
Yes, and I think what's cool about this episode is it's interesting. Of that layer does pay off. Of how do you feel about this kind of stuff? Because I think it is. Well, this is a real nurse, real medical professional, whatever the title we want to give that person. Sorry, it is like coming over, and it's like, what are your and he's lying. That was a something in my head where it's like, there's 18 players in this game. You're not expecting the nurse to lie. You're not expecting Jeff D. Lowe to lie. You're not expecting Will to lie. If you're asking Will a question about the challenge, you're hoping a mission doesn't conflict with that. Yeah. And I do think this is where Barstool lives in the gray area. Like, surviving means survivor, and Barstool means gray area. And being able to go up to the nurse when no one's looking and being like, hey, I don't know if you're aware of what I have, but I have a thing that says I need to fake a thing. How much can you help me out here, man? Like, and what can we do? And I thought that was pretty funny of like, you have to do this for 10 minutes, but there's no visual clock out there.
Yeah.
There's no like countdown. And it is like, I don't know how crazy the top right corner of like that time for us is accurate or not. But it is like, I thought for a second how they were editing it. I was like, he's only going to do it for 9 minutes and 37 seconds, and then they're not going to give it to him. Of like, somebody gave him the wrong cue, and then they're going to yell at the ref the whole time. I was like, that's what I was expecting to happen. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, I appreciated that too, because then it means that he really has to milk it for as long as he wants. And like you had said earlier, and like he was saying in this episode, he's going to have to keep milking this now for the rest of the game. He doesn't really have a choice. He can't just miraculously be better. Otherwise, I mean, Tate was already questioning it. Tate was already saying, are you buying this? No, he wouldn't fake an injury. But, Mark, could this be a mission? Because Tate had the klutz, which was keep dropping it. So part of him was thinking, did you have to fake an injury and then get up and win the challenge? And that's a mission, but it does feel like it's just a little too outlandish. Shane Michael says it did feel like a long 10 minutes. I do wonder how close he really was, because we always say this with the traders, which welcome back traders, September 17th and the cast is announced.
I think
But
I'm gonna watch it this season.
I doubt it. Just like you always are going to watch it and then you don't. But so with the traders is, they always have the clock in the bottom just being like, hey, you got 30 seconds. And I remember Rob Roush had to swim like half a mile and they were like, he's going to do it in a minute. Yeah. Okay. So I wonder how close this really was. And if they did tip him off and be like, hey, that's your 10 minutes, you're good. Because you do hear kind of the dialogue of, the medic says, hey, I think you're good. And then Dana grabs his shoulders and says, all right, buddy, we're good. It's almost like there was a watch or somebody saw something on a phone in some way that let it be known that it was 10 minutes. So that it was, it was subtle enough that nobody else was picking up on it. But at least Marty knew that he was good to go.
Yeah, and I think that's something where, do I want to see this? Like, the actual thing I want to talk about now is like, I was mentioning, is there going to be a mission every single episode? Because now we have 3 idols out there, and 3 feels like the maximum. And in the preview for this episode, and now the preview for next episode, we have Tate being twice now saying, I can make a move that can win me the game if I find an idol. And it's like, how many more missions are there going to be? This one is just on top of the water cooler. That one's whenever it's, how hard are these idols to find when we have people literally having those confessionals? Okay, Dave Portnoy's thing is holding one of them. I don't even remember where the other 2 were at this point. But on top of the water cooler at eye level, somebody was like, did they juice it? Did they just give one to Glennie or whatever? And you're like, it's so funny to me as well. Like, instead of just doing this by themselves, the gray area barstool of this Survivor Barstool is, I have to show 3 people and like, who wants to do this? And now Marty's in a second time where he gets somebody an idol, and it's like, Marty, you're gonna give that to Glennie, or is this one yours because you're the one who fixed the injury?
Well, this one is Marty's because Marty gets the mission,
Right,
and
he
this
holds it
isn't.
up, and
Yeah, this isn't somebody else because the other one was get somebody to play an idol incorrectly. This one was you must fake an injury. So I think it was a lot clearer on this front that it had to be him. So Glennie finds it. He tells Marty, and then they tell Tommy Smokes, Dana, and Roan. So this was the first tip off to me that Roan wasn't being voted out. I know that Roan isn't actually playing with, I think he's only playing with Tommy there. And I don't remember if Tommy's actually aware that Roan knows. But this was my first hint because it feels like there's more alliances going on. And as you're talking about with Gray Area, we have just cross tribal stuff happening all the time, which is a lot of fun and it's cool and there's no problem with it, but it is happening all the time. And so those are the people who know. We're now down to final 10. So 5 people who are left in the game know that Marty has the idol and know how he got it. And I'm curious how that information is going to come out around him, because based on the preview for Sunday's episode, it does look like they're staying as 2 teams. It does not look like we are merging into a single tribe, even though I feel like it would have been better because you're at 10. But they're doing that ring game that Boston Rob essentially tells Michelle she deserved to win her season during. And so I feel like they're not merging. And if that's the case, Roan has an idol, Dana has an idol, Marty has an idol. Glennie knows that Marty has the idol. Tate is kind of onto it a little bit. I'd be very curious if that Pigeon tribe ends up losing again, because, it just feels like you have 2 idols. You have one guy who knows about the idol. You have one guy who's onto the idol, and then you have Nikki Smoke. So it seems like everybody's willing to just keep dragging along.
I think the other thing that is interesting to me, and I'm not saying finally, I'm saying this is kind of how the show works. We're 5 episodes in. Episode 6 from now on is going to be voting out somebody that had a shot to win this game, or like made a decision, like all of the trim the fat, or all of the like they never had a shot, or we were dragging them along. It feels like all of those people, they're like going based on merit. Multiple times they should have voted out, like they should vote out Roan. That is what they should be doing. Like, even this time around, I do think why are we not keeping Dante? And it is something where that is such a no-brainer. Like, what? Why did Colby not take Keith? And it's like, when Roan beats 3 of these people later, they're gonna look stupid, and that's something where, okay, I would hope that would never happen to me, but it is something where I keep saying there is something. Okay, here we go.
There
Dante
is
is
something that's interesting, Blake. Go
you're
ahead.
probably not super close to Dante. You are super close to Roan. Dante is never going to give you a promotion. Roan is going to give you a promotion. Dante is not going to remember what he's doing in Survivor 3 weeks from now. Roan is going to remember this for the rest of his life. So it is something where you're like, all right,
I don't feel like
I
that's
don't want to
playing
vote
into it
out
at all.
Dante because Roan is way more of a threat, but like I have to keep Roan in because there's a lot of circumstances that go into this shit.
Shane Michael Cup brings this up. Well, Tommy said he thought that Dante was a liability. I think that's what it was. I don't think Dante knew what was going on or really cared all that much that he was playing. I mean, I understand that it's my strategy. I'm going to go watch the game. Yes and no. I feel like Dante really would rather watch the Cavs game. I don't think he really gave a shit about surviving Barstool. Yes, there's $250,000 on the line. I don't think Dante really understands Survivor, and I don't think he really cared about it. And so Tommy kept saying, like, Dante is so bad at this game, he has no idea what's going on. I just don't think that there's enough to keep Dante around. I don't think that it has really anything to do with getting a promotion or wanting to keep the person who's better for your job around. I just feel like it was a stupid, stupid thing. And PCA Great says Dante cared. He's very mad at fights. I'm not saying that he didn't. Yes, he cares in a way, but if you're sitting down watching the Cavs game, you don't care that much. And you might be more pissed that you got voted out than that you're no longer playing the game. He feels more burned at this point, in my opinion, than he actually is pissed that he's out of the game. And I think that's like the difference here, because if you cared all that much about it, you wouldn't be watching the Cavs game with the winners. You'd be out there scheming. And he can say that, oh, it's part of my strategy. But like Tommy said, he's so bad at this game. You got to want to know something. I mean, Glenny plays stupid nonstop. He's told us that's his strategy numerous times, but he's still mixing it up. He's still doing things. Everybody liked Dante. Dante still gets voted out here instead of Rome because I truly just don't think they thought Dante was taking it seriously enough. And that's too unpredictable. And they're all assuming a merge is coming. What's going to happen when the merge comes and Dante doesn't win immunity and then he's going to go sit and watch the NBA playoffs? I don't want to have that guy as an ally. I'd much rather have him out of the game. And yeah, I understand that Roan is threatening and Roan is playing well, but there's also a lot of people at idols. And I think everybody left in the game feels like they're a threat. And I think that there is a lot of meat shield strategy going on here of that person's a bigger threat than me. Let's keep them around.
Yeah, I get that thought process of what is better to do: corral all the people that have no like sheep come in here, but then the sheep have to eat food too, so they're gonna eat you or whatever. And it's like I just think Dante's so harmless, where it's like I check in with Dante once a day and he's fine. He's literally not gonna go talk to anybody else because he is whenever Dante says that winning culture shit, I'm 900% sure that's what he was going to do for the rest of his life. Of like this, we've been on the green tree. Oh my God, green tribe twice. I'm green tribe for the rest of my life.
I did like the whole winning culture. Stop having a loser mentality. We don't lose. I love that.
And that's something I don't think you'd ever hear somebody say on Survivor. So that is some of the Barstool that is great here.
So now we have Tommy Smokes talking about how he thinks Roan is actually a terrible Survivor player and he might want to keep Roan around because Roan's actually not as good as he thought Roan would be. We have Roan essentially telling lies about fights and about Pat, and it ends up not looking good for him. Are you still seeing Roan as a front runner here? I mean, I know at the top of this, we had Nick Snyder saying Roan and Tate still have winner edits. Do you feel like Roan is actually somebody who's a contender to win at this point? Or do you feel like people are kind of just like, Roan is playing a so-so game?
I think Roan is not going to have enough allies to do what he wants to do very soon. Roan can't drive the bus. I think Roan can point at somebody and be like, isn't that person really threatening? And then people will have the option to weigh what is Roan telling us? Is that
Mhm.
person really threatening, or is this what Roan wants and we need to figure this out? Because all of Roan's current allies are either getting stronger with a different tribe or they're a tribe that has let him in one time. So I don't think he's playing from the top at all moving forward. And it's something where you're like, who is going to give Roan time to breathe? And it's maybe people that need shields, which is, I think, the only person that could pull that off would be Tommy. But also, I don't know if that's too much credit to give Tommy whenever he's saying Roan's actually bad. And you're
Yeah.
like, okay, like, does he know that Roan has an idol? Because all those people were working on the second idol together, but I don't think people know that Roan has one.
So let's throw this up. This is fun. PCA Great coming through here, giving us a talking point. Blake, are you good with this?
Did you see PCA went to Barstool on yesterday? Yesterday, and White Sox Dave was talking to him for 2 minutes, and it was one of the greatest conversations I've ever seen.
I did not see that. How would I have seen that, Blake? You know that
I don't
I,
know.
I haven't seen anything. I watched
It
Surviving
kind of it
Barstool.
went mini viral. I don't know how viral you get, but
I don't look at my Instagram or X
all
pretty
right,
much at all. I'm
keep your
just saying.
secrets.
Let's throw this up. These are fake odds. These are not real odds, but these are odds that PCA Great thinks. Why don't we go through these and I want to see what you think, Blake? Let's start with the bottom here. He's given Brandon Walker plus 5,000, so he's giving him the worst odds to win. You agree with that?
I think solely because of the money thing, but I think he's one of the most insulated players currently.
I think he's going. Like I think that he's going to be around for a little bit. I don't think he's going to go home anytime soon. I feel like they're either going to vote out Roan or it's going to be like a Pat or a Tommy next. I feel like Brandon is in a really good spot there because he has Roan in his pocket. Glenny Ball's at plus 4,000, the second worst
I
odds.
the other thing is if we did this for Survivor, if we did this for Survivor Nicaragua, it would be like Mick plus 5,000 and like
Who?
I'm saying the wrong thing. Samoa.
That's Samoa, buddy.
I meant to say Samoa.
No, you
Survivor
didn't.
Samoa, like Mick would be plus 5,000 and Russell Hance would be plus 4,000. And it's like does that high of an odds mean they're perfect people to get zero vote finalists? Is that why they can't win, or is it you think they're going next?
No,
So
it just means that they have like no chance of winning. It's the same
true,
thing
true,
as like
true.
last year what was it, the Panthers, they win the NFC South. They still have worse odds than the Lions going into week 17 to win the Super Bowl. The Lions lose week 17, they can't even make the postseason. But the Panthers still had worse odds than the Lions going into that week, even though the Panthers were favorites to win their division because the Panthers suck. So it's like, yeah, it's not just can you get to the end, it's can you win in the end. So Brandon
Gotcha.
Walker's at plus
That's what
5,000.
we actually care about. So I think the Brandon Walker and the Glenny Balls are there because how would they get 7 votes to win? Ohio's Tate. I hate his name so much. Tate is something where it's like
Say the odds. Say the odds. You got to let everybody else
plus
in because there's people
plus
who are just listening.
1250, plus 1250. So still not great. Still the only other 4-figure odds. I think that's kind of harsh, but it's I'm waiting to see what the tone is. I guess it's gonna be final 9 when there's a merge of
Either nine
like,
or eight, yeah.
is it just gonna be who goes at final 9? Is it friends to the end, or are we finally gonna get out threats because they're threatening? Because friends to the end, Tate has no shot, and then I think whose threat he also has less of a shot, but he's still either way it goes. I think Ohio State is kind of screwed.
See, I think Ohio State I'd probably be putting higher up. I don't think
Right.
I'd put him higher than Pat. I'd put him higher than Nikki Smokes. I think I'd probably put him higher than Tommy at this point because I think Tommy's going to get got at some point. I think that Ohio State, like he's in a bad spot for sure. He needs to find an idol. He doesn't have an idol. But again, I also feel like him kind of being onto the fact that Marty has an idol. I think that there's going to be some conversations. The thing that's hurting him the most is that there's two people at idols on his tribe. But I feel like Tate's playing a pretty solid game. I think what he did early on with the somebody said tongue in cheek, which is definitely a better term than the sarcasm that he was using. I feel like what he was doing early on made some sense. So I'm thinking if you're giving me Tate plus 1250, I'm taking that. Like I'm putting $10 on that to win 125 because that's pretty good. I'm feeling good about that one. I'm not putting anything on Brandon. I'm not putting anything on Glenny. After that, we got Nikki Smokes at plus 800. I'm looking at Nikki Smokes as last year's Broncos. They weren't as good as their record said. We all knew they were never winning the Super Bowl, but their odds looked better the whole time. So I think plus 800 for Nikki Smokes is crazy. Maybe if he gets to the end, he gets some votes, but it seems like all of his friends were voted out before the jury phase started. And I feel like whoever he's sitting next to, somebody's going to be taken more seriously than him.
The other thing I just realized, there was actually a commercial for you can go bet on this, which I'm
Yeah,
like,
there is.
what? And that is the first time Tate all season long has been actually genuine in a confessional.
Mm-hmm.
Was time to like go to this betting thing and you can get free cash to bet on, and he says it in a perfect voice. I was like, you bitch.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, he does have it.
and,
He does have it. You forget he's a media personality
and
sometimes.
I was wondering, I'm like, did they ask everyone to do it and they're gonna pick the best one, or they were like, we want Tate to do this, or is there anything to look in, like this is what we have for, like, is that the winners at it? Of, we gave you a clue, the person who did the betting thing was the person who ended up winning. Like, he's a contestant in this thing. Like, how does he not go like, well, bet on me, I'm gonna do my best to get you guys paid? Like, it was such a weird, like, it's not part of the game, it is a commercial. I wonder if they knew that was happening, and this is from like 3 days ago before anything had happened so far. But it was such a weird like insert where I was like, I know I'm not supposed to pay attention to this, but all I can do is overthink of what is going on here.
Yeah. All right. Then we get on to
Nikki Snooks is not winning. Like, I would
No.
not put $1 on him. No.
I would be shocked. Then we get to Roan at plus 750. I think those are pretty good odds. I think I'd probably take that too. You have Roan sitting with an idol on a tribe with Brandon, feeling good. Dante's gone on the better tribe in terms of physicality. Not every challenge is going to be basketball. Plus, Marty has to fake it that he's injured. I think plus 750 on Roan is pretty solid. I would probably take that because I feel like Brandon Walker, if he's not going to win, his goal at this point is pretty much to get Roan to the end and get Roan that W. I also think that, look, I know that they don't put as much effort into like showing off and everything as what Survivor does in terms of like who's going to win and who's not. But I feel like the confessional from Dante on his way out saying, if I don't win, I hope Roan does for his wife and his kid. I'm like, they could be leaving that in for a reason. They could be leaving that in for a reason. So I like Roan there at plus 750. What do you think about Roan?
I think whenever I'm talking about, are we going merit based and threat based, or are we going friends forever? I think some of these people have to be like friends forever. Like, let's do friends forever. I know we're not allowed to split the money. That's against the law. But I don't know if they're going to be like, don't worry. Every time you come to New York for the next 5 years, I will buy you dinner every time.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
like a, okay. Like, maybe they even do that in real Survivor. In any time I got to go to Florida, I'm going to stay on your couch. Or it's not even your couch, your extra bedroom, blah, blah, blah.
I mean, even the traders, what Rob Roush said he was buying more.
Yeah,
Something.
that's crazy. But like, I think Roan is gonna be. Let's do friends forever. Me, Brandon Walker, and who's the third person? Like the Tommy. Like, the only way we have a chance is to go against each other in the final three. We can't let another single person in, and I think that will be either well received or like a. Because what I'm trying to say is Roan hasn't been voted out, and there was 2 times he could have gone very easily, in my opinion. And if they don't have the heart to do it at final 15 and final 11, like, how are they going to have the heart to do it at final 5 or final 4? Like, it may be like, it's even worse now. You let me get, like, Roan is literally the wordsmith of this company. So if you get Roan to final 5 and he's looking at you, he didn't win immunity. He's like, you're going to take this money away from my twins or whatever. I'd be like, oh my God.
All right, that brings us next to Pat at plus 700. I know I already made an NFC South reference, so I'll go AFC South here. Pat is the AFC South. For anybody who's unfamiliar with the AFC South and what that means, the AFC South came into existence in 2002. exactly one team has won the Super Bowl from the AFC South. So not
Tennessee
only that,
Titans.
you want to hear? No, it's when Peyton Manning won it back in '06. What's even crazier, Blake, is that I had to look this one up to make sure. Only twice has a team from the AFC South ever made the Super Bowl. It just
Tennessee
made it.
Titans.
Both times it was Peyton Manning on the Colts. Good try, though. The
I
Titans
watched
have
the
never
Tennessee.
made the Super Bowl in the AFC South. They made it against the Rams in '99. That was before the AFC South existed.
You technicality. Come
It's
on.
not a technicality. It's the point of the statement is since the AFC South started existing in 2002, it has been a waste of a spot in the playoffs, right? It always looks, oh, that team might be good. The Colts go 14-2, they don't do anything. The Titans
You're
get the
calling
1
the
seed in
only game man
2021.
in this competition a waste of space. Is
They don't do anything. No, what I'm saying is no matter how good Pat looks during the pre-merge, Pat is not sitting at Final Three. And if he does, he's not winning at Final Three. He's the AFC South. He's sitting at plus 700 because he's insulated enough. No shot Pat wins this game.
Here's what I want from Pat before this is all said and done. I want Pat to orchestrate the shot. And I think he will. And then I think he'll be taking out the time after. But I think that'll be a really fun episode of Pat just being like, we got to get this person out. Everyone agrees. And then everyone goes, remember what Pat did yesterday? We got to vote him out right now. And it's like, it just seems like a clear destiny of how everything is shaking out. And like, I don't expect it to be anybody to the left of his name. I'm expecting it to be somebody to the right of his name. Of does he go after Tate, Brandon Walker, or Roan? Of like, we got to get this guy out. We're never gonna win.
You know, Jacksonville, the Jaguars went 13-4 last season and then lost in the first round of the playoffs. That's Pat. Sorry, that's Pat. That's Pat. All right, Tommy Smokes sitting here at plus 600. He's giving him the fourth shortest odds. I don't see Tommy winning this. I really don't.
Here's something that I really need to like understand. I think Tommy, I don't know anything about Tommy. And I have watched Barstool for a while. And like it's something where it feels like 99% of his stuff is like I just say it into existence and people believe it. But like he's sitting out challenges or whatever, and you're like, why are you doing that? Oh, they lost this challenge. Tommy sat out. This is maybe the challenge we only lost, like, but like, it's not that I'm not impressed. I get that he won the first season of this. The first season that had like 8 or 9 people tops. It was just a merge basically. I've seen him do some other stuff, but I'm like, when does this kick into gear? Like, is he playing the best game? Is he playing the best game he can play at this point? But I'm seeing Tommy keep Roan around, and I'm just like, I don't understand that. And that doesn't make game sense to me of this should be the other kingpin is kind of given to you. This feels like Lex goes to Boston Rob's side. Or Boston Rob goes to Lex's side instead of Amber in that weird swap in All-Stars. And then Boston Rob going, or Lex going, I'll keep Boston Rob around. You have to vote Boston Rob out in that scenario of you're gifted a free kingpin kill. Get rid of the kingpin.
I feel like there's just so many people left, and I think that Tommy, being such an actual fan of Real Survivor and studying the games and thinking to himself, which game can I play? I think he probably is trying to play the Jeremy Collins game. The more threats that are around, the better it is for Tommy. Because if Tommy gets rid of Roan, and everybody knows Brandon Walker's not going to win, and everybody knows Glennie's not going to win, and everybody knows Dante's not going to win, and everybody knows Pat's not going to win, all of a sudden they all start saying, well, we should vote out Tommy. And they all know Tommy is really good at these games and really, really likes these games. Now, I've also been stating numerous times that I feel like this could be a little bit of an audition for Tommy, that they're trying to push for him to get on the Survivor. I mean,
and that's
he's done
just like
so much stuff with Survivor.
Speak into existence. And you're like, would Tommy be very interesting to watch on American Survivor?
Yeah, I think he would. I mean, this is just where your preference on that stuff is. Well, it's funny because you'll make that face, but then you'll say that every casting choice on season 40, whatever, 51 is going to be bad.
And it is like,
but that's where it's like, what do you want then? If you don't want the Tommies of the world, but you don't want what they just did in the new era, what kind of people do you actually want on the show? Because he's pretty opposite everything they put on in the new era.
It's just when Tommy goes on the show, is he going to be Tommy or is he going to be fanboy?
Oh, I think he's going
That's
to be Tommy. I think he can be more himself on Real Survivor than he can be on Surviving Barstool. I think he's totally handcuffed on Surviving Barstool. I don't think there's anything he can do. He has to play. I mean, think about it, Blake. If you played Survivor with me and Will 10 times, by the fifth time, you're like, okay, I know their shtick. What am I supposed to do? You can only do so much, and I think that's what's happening to Tommy here. I think he has no shot. Um, so I think he has to be a little bit more reserved, but I also think his reads on everything are really good. So I don't know.
Jesse Tenenbaum. Please put Tommy on 53. That was a curse.
Blake hates Tate because Ohio State beat Texas 2 years in a row. That Shane Michael Cup. Blake still isn't over the fact that Texas didn't make the playoff last year. No way Miami should have gotten in. It should have been Texas. Arch Manning is so good.
Oh my
Oh
god.
yeah, let's rank Texas at 5 again so they can get shit on throughout most of SEC play, but we can make 37 excuses for them because we need 8 SEC teams in the playoff just to watch them get smoked by crappy non-big title name Big Ten schools.
12-0.
Jesus. All right. We're into the top 3 here according to PCA grade. We got Marty at plus 400. I'm a believer in Marty after tonight. He has an idol. He has so many allies. I know that there's a lot of people in here who like too many people know about his idol right now. So I got distracted by you guys losing to Florida. You guys lost to Florida. So I'm getting distracted there. But so many people know about Marty's idol. I feel like that could come back to bite him in the ass. But at the same time, I feel like Marty's done a good job. Somebody had a comment earlier where they said something along the lines of, Mata says, Mush playing well and no one views him as a threat. And I think that is what's really interesting and why I would actually probably say he's my favorite at this point.
So I think this is not going to surprise you, but I'm going to walk the same line with you and say it a different way. Of Marty Mush is not somebody I was thinking was going to be good at this. He is not somebody I thought would have a shot. It is like, oh, he needs friends to be around him and give him some support. Well, that's what's happening. Mm-hmm. And I think Marty doing I'll be the one who does the outlandish stuff for both Dana and him, and Glenny. Dana and Glenny both said, can you do this outlandish stuff? I don't want to do it. Marty says, I'll put the team on my back. And now Marty and his allies have 2 idols going into a place where they may need to use them. Mm-hmm. And it is something where it's like, well, how the hell did Marty win that? Based on looking at the 18 people. Well, how the hell did Marty win that is kind of happening right now. Of he's playing well. Okay, he was on the tribe that broke 3 people down. They all lost. They're in it to win it now. He gets a favorable swap to go be with some people he's been groomsmen with, and like now they have idols, and they probably don't want to lose next time. They probably want to send Green Tribe to. They should try pretty hard, and then if they don't, it's like as long as they dodge whatever Ohio Tate's bullet is, they're fine and probably Final 5.
Yeah, I feel like, especially on that tribe, there's 5 people over there. You would need Glenny or Nikki to say, oh, I'm going to team up with Tate. You need Glenny and Nikki to say, I'm going to team up with Tate to vote out Marty or Dana, and Marty or Dana to not get word of it. I'm sorry, but Glenny is as subtle as a freight train. Like, there's no way in hell he's pulling that off. And I don't think there's any way Nikki Smokes can pull that off either. So I think Marty's in a great spot. Like I said, I think he's the favorite at this point. That's who I would be going with. But PCA grade has fights at plus 375. I feel like fights is probably in a good spot. I just don't feel like fights has really like had to do much. So I don't really know. Like they just had this tribal. What did fights really do?
He's perfectly positioned, but how much of it is his doing? I think the age-old Survivor thing of is he constantly putting in work and conversations to be perfectly positioned, and can say that out loud at the microphones to win the money at the end? Or is it like, because I'm a pretty good guy, this is the Keith Nail of Surviving Barstool right now?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like people would vote for him if he gets to the end, but I think I think there's a chance that he could get to the end with Brandon and Roan. but then it would probably be Roan who's getting the votes, or Tommy, him, and Brandon, and then he wins and he beats Tommy. I mean, I know people like fights. I feel like he's like the non-confrontational one over there, at least based on the 2 seasons that I've watched him on Surviving Barstool. PCA grade has Dana Beers as the favorite at plus 350. Here's my thing. I get it. I get where you're coming from with this. Dana has an idol. Dana has some allies. Dana's very likable. Those are also the things working against Dana. And I think that if anybody's going to get voted out with an idol in their pocket, I think it's Dana. I think Dana has the biggest chance of flubbing the power that he has and ultimately like getting got right before final 3.
I definitely, I think there's the thing in the back of people's heads is he just won $30,000 like the week before this on another challenge. For us, that was like 2.5 months ago.
Mhm.
But for these guys, it is like, I think that'll be a deciding factor of like, should we go this way or this way at a final 6 or a final 5? And so far, Dana hasn't really voted out anybody that was like on his side, right? He's had some pretty straightforward things, and it was more he's making his allies make decisions. So both Tate and Nikki Smokes have kind of been like, I can't betray Dana. I think that's gonna be a storyline that's repeated again and some more. Of Dana is one of the most likable people. There's no way I can betray him. There's no way I can go against Dana. Maybe if all the votes are going his way, I'll vote out Dana. But I think Dana is somebody that has been, who's the coworker that's like, yes, I'll get beers with you after work. Yes, you can use my truck to like move. Yes, oh, your mom's in town. Like, I could go with you guys to get some breadsticks. Like, that's the type of Dana. Dana's been doing that for like 10 years, and he's good at his job. Like, why are you talking about that on Surviving Barstool? That's the Barstool part of Surviving Barstool, of like, who's the most likable dude from your work? Would you vote them out of a fan game of Survivor before Final 5?
Yeah. No, I totally get what you're saying there. But then it's also, would you let that person get the final 3 if you're still sitting there, or do you want the money? I think at that point, unless you're Brandon Walker who's making enough money, or if you're one of the people who's making a lot, you want the money. You want the money. So you're going to vote him out.
And like maybe they'll be like, I'll take him to Final 5, and then the Final 5 challenge is layups, and the Final 4 challenge is free throws, and you're like, oh, God damn it. We lost the basketball guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Another HHH thing, right? I'm sitting here and I'm watching Devin not vote out Ben at 8, and I'm like, if only he knew. If only he knew. Anything else about this episode? I know we didn't talk like a lot about, but it was so much based around the injury, and then Dante just gets voted out. Like, it was very unceremonious. Tate's running around looking for idols, but there was really nothing else going on in my eyes in this one. I felt like it was very straightforward. So like, I'm good if you're good.
I think the only thing else I can think of is the challenge is a couple things put together from Survivor stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was, I think that shot is pretty hard. I was expecting it to be a 4-2. I don't know why. I guess it was, how do we get the balls to people's hands? So it is the slingshotter is the hero, and Glennie is the one who's like that's why they're like, great job, Glennie. And who was on slide? Pat was on the slingshot for that side.
Mm.
So if anybody is going to be like, they're not going to vote based on challenge performance if they go one more time. But if they did, it'd be like, is Pat in danger?
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that for sure. I liked this challenge. I did. I thought it was pretty interesting. I think the balance beam thing was tough enough, but not overly difficult. The shooting thing, you can't really like jump, you can't move. I felt like it was simple. I liked it. I liked it. It was also a good one for the mission that was at hand. It was. But yeah, Pat not being able to do any of this shit. I mean, now Pat has to compete in the next challenge. Where are you going to put him? If it's something physical, where do you put him? So,
Yeah.
All right. That's it. So thank you all so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode. On Sunday night, stay tuned. We'll see what time we come in. I know this week we came in right after the episode. We got a lot more people watching it. It was our highest view to the season so far, so that was a good thing. But I can't promise that's going to happen again because I'm not going to be like, Blake, you must give up whatever you're doing on your Sunday for Surviving Barstool. I'd make him do that for Survivor, but I'm not going to make him do that for Surviving Barstool. So hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Spread the word that we're doing this because I mean, like I said, our last episode was our best viewed yet so far. So wherever you spread this word, spread this word. Otherwise, that's it. Become a patron, patreon.com/specialists. We're talking about heroes, healers, hustlers, as I have discussed a couple times here. We got casting perspective, rock draws. Will and I did a fun rock draw that came out today that was about what seasons would be better if the first juror went on to win the season instead of the winner? And I thought that was a fun episode to discuss that. So we have a bunch of different fun topics like that. Most of them come from the fans. You can join the Discord where Blake will bitch and do all his fun stuff, and other people will too. So that's it. That's all we got. We'll see you all on Sunday. Bye, everybody.
See ya.